Angeba Sojola here. In this video, we'll be discussing one of the newest trade routes, which is known as the Indian, Middle Eastern, European Economic Corridor. In short, or the acronym version of this trade route is known as the IMEC. Now, when we speak of the IMEC trade route, we are fundamentally speaking of a network of infrastructure projects, right, that include seaports, shipping, right, railway, roads, and pipelines, right, that basically connect Asia to the Middle East and the Middle East to Europe, right? Now, it is believed that this IMEC trade route, right, is to act as a formidable competition to the Chinese-led initiative of the Belt and Road Initiative, right? Now, so because of this, right, a number of European countries became interested in the project. Also, the US is very interested in the project, but this project is mainly being pushed by two main countries, right, that will be linking Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. These two countries are India, right, and Saudi Arabia. India and Saudi Arabia have come to an agreement on a number of things. Now, after the G20 that happened in 2023, right, India and Saudi Arabia went on to sign a number of MOUs. I think there was about 50 MOUs in various sectors, right, of the economy, including digitalization, right, which fundamentally speaks of the transmission line that the two countries want to put between each other, right? A transmission line that links Saudi Arabia and India, right? They want to do it as an undersea transmission line, right? So they also want to work together in food security, manufacturing, energy deals, right? Healthcare, right? It also include manufacturing. Now, when we look at the two main players in this economic corridor, right? Both of them have something to benefit from the other. Now, when we look at Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia is a huge supplier or a huge producer of energy, right, of oil, right? And India is known to be the second largest consumer market in the world after China, right? So for Saudi Arabia, this is a good thing because they have a huge Indian market. Now, when we look at Saudi Arabia from the perspective of India, right? Saudi Arabia provides a lot of energy. Saudi Arabia has a plan to fundamentally move away from their oil resources or oil dependent energy or economy, right? To move to things like sport and mining and tourism. Now, there was a number of things that Saudi Arabia did, right, in the past few years to actually spark that growth in sport. For example, they had brought Cristiano Ronaldo, right, into their league to somehow bring prominence. A number of players were also, what can I say, headhunted. Messi was also offered about a million, not a million, but $1 billion to come to Saudi Arabia and help with the establishment of the soccer sector in Saudi Arabia, right? So, and Saudi Arabia also has plans to build a smart city by 2030 that is known as NEOM, right? The city is expected to be a smart city using green energy, with automation and robotics and AI that is integrated into it. So, as the two main players of this corridor, right, this economic corridor, Saudi Arabia and India have come to a number of mutual agreements in regarding a number of sectors and making sure that this economic corridor is successful. When we look at the last country that this economic corridor, right, uh, is linked to in the Middle East, right, from India, we fundamentally see that it is Israel, right? Israel is currently in a war with Hamas, right, because of an attack that occurred in 7 October of 2023, right? So when you really need to understand the moves of China, as I call them, the dominoes of China that are falling, particularly in the Middle East, it becomes very clear why there is a war between Israel and Hamas, right? It is a way of China to disturb this corridor, which might be a threat or a competition to the Belt and Road Initiative that China is driving. So, if we remove Israel as a state from that economic corridor or from that trade route, we have fundamentally stalled the economic development of that trade route, the IMEC trade route, right? So the more chaos there is in Israel, right? Be it in West Bank, right? Be it in Gaza, or I must add Syria and Lebanon, right? The chaos prevents any solid uh, development of infrastructure in Israel to help this corridor. So if China, right, through its various means in the Middle East, right, decides to not recognize Israel as a country, in which they have already done in Alibaba, right, and Baidu, right. These are major websites which use GPS, right, to identify countries, and somehow they managed to remove this as they managed to remove Israel as a recognized state. So you need to understand the Chinese move in the Middle East, right? Especially after the backdrop of the G20 and the development of this specific trade route, right? Of this specific economic corridor, right? So we always have to keep our eyes open, right? Especially when it comes to geopolitics. Nothing just happens. Everything leads to another, right? This is yet again just another domino that China has initiated to fall, right? So that they can be able to dominate the global trade, right? Thank you for this opportunity, and I'll see you in the next video.